You don't deserve to be tired, she said. If you can't earn more, you can leave. The woman I married was gone. I came home after 16 hours on my feet, sweat, bruises, no sleep, and when I came home she kicked me out of the house. But after the game changed, she stood there, arms crossed tight, like I was nothing more than her disappointment with legs. You haven't earned it, you can lie down. That line, no warning, no pause, just a cold slap to the gut. I had just finished a brutal 10-hour shift lifting drywall on a sunbaked job site. Came home soaked in sweat, boots dragging like anchors. I hadn't even sat for 60 seconds before she unloaded that grenade. Amanda didn't care how heavy the day had been. She just watched me drop onto the couch and sighed like I'd tracked in dirt from a life she no longer respected. Eat in the kitchen. You're disgusting. That wasn't a joke. That wasn't sarcasm. That was her tone now. Sharp. Dismissive. Constant. I stood, confused, aching, and tried reasoning. I just worked all day. She tilted her head like she couldn't hear me over the sound of her own contempt. Work harder then. You're always exhausted but we're still behind. Behind what? The fantasy life she built in her head while comparing us to strangers online? We used to be equals, married 6 years, 2 jobs between us, no kids. When we first started, I made more. Then her Etsy shop exploded and suddenly she treated me like a bad investment that never paid off. Now she makes $4,800 a month printing sarcastic quotes on tumblers. I bring home $3,200 putting up ceilings that keep people safe. But in her eyes, mine isn't real money anymore. You've gotten soft. You're losing your edge. That's what she told me when I said I was tired. The next morning, I started searching for weekend shifts. I thought maybe, just maybe, if I picked up something extra, she'd lay off. Show some respect. Recognize effort. I found a night stocking job at a grocery chain. Pays trash, smells like bleach, but it's money. I signed up. I texted her the news. No thank you. No smile. Just this. Finally doing something useful. First weekend on the job, I come home Sunday at 6:30 a.m. Back aching. Hands torn. Skin dry from handling cardboard and bleach. I drag myself inside and collapse face first on the bed. Amanda wakes up, doesn't even blink. You're gonna snore all morning? That's what I get for working 2 jobs. The next weekend, I came back to an empty house and a sticky note taped to the fridge. Took my laptop to Starbucks. House is gross. Dishes, again? The sink wasn't even full. But sure, I'll clean after working 16 hours straight. I wiped down the counters, vacuumed the living room, laid on the floor and closed my eyes. An hour later, she slammed the front door, sighed hard, and shouted from across the house. Did you forget the plants again? No, Amanda. I didn't forget. I just couldn't move. Week 3 is when things broke. I showed up to the grocery shift Saturday night and the manager looked confused. I wasn't on the schedule. My mistake. Wrong week. So I went home. I crept inside around 11:15 p.m. Lights off. TV on. Music playing low. I turned the corner into the living room and stopped breathing. Amanda. On the couch. Legs draped over a guy I've never seen before. He had one arm resting behind her, the other holding a glass of wine. She didn't hear me. But I saw everything. I didn't say a word. I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and sat there in silence. She finally walked in, startled, like she'd seen a ghost. You scared me. I thought you had work. No shame or apology. Just annoyance that I showed up early. I asked one thing. Was he in our bedroom? She blinked too slowly. You're making this into something. Her voice was flat. Her eyes sharp. He's a friend. You're tired, not thinking straight. I stood up. She rolled hers. This whole attitude is why I don't want to be around you. I didn't speak. Just walked outside. Slept in my truck. Alone. Just shame. The next morning she texted me like nothing had happened. Pick up oat milk. I came back around 10 a.m. The wine glass was still on the table. So were 2 empty ones. She didn't mention the guy again. Not once. Later that week, I came home to more people. 3 this time. 2 women, 1 guy. All strangers. Amanda stood in the middle, hosting a party she never told me about. Wine poured. Music playing. Their feet on my table. She looked at me, dead-eyed. Don't make this weird. We're just brainstorming. I walked straight to the bedroom, locked the door, and laid there staring at the ceiling. At 1 a.m. she knocked once. You should be grateful. They might help my business. No mention of how I felt. That night I realized something terrifying. She didn't see me at all anymore. I slept in my truck again because the silence inside that house wasn't safe anymore, and honestly neither was my anger. I didn't move for hours because I was too busy playing that couch scene on repeat in my head, her legs over his, her glass raised, her laugh louder than I've heard in months. his hand resting like it belonged there and the way she looked at him like they had done this before. I stared through the windshield until morning, gripping the wheel like it could hold me together, but it didn't help because everything in my chest felt like glass. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't break anything. I just shut down, which I guess is worse because that meant I was still trying to make sense of it. Around 6:30 a.m. I walked inside and she was already up, dressed in leggings and one of those oversized sweatshirts she only wears when she's guilty. She stood in the kitchen with a mug in her hand like she didn't see me last night, like she didn't drape herself across someone else while I was supposed to be working. She looked up at me without blinking and said, "You're home early. Did the shift end?" And I just stared at her like she was made of fog. I didn't speak because I knew if I started I wouldn't stop and I didn't want to yell. I didn't want to give her the reaction she clearly expected. So I walked past her, straight to the bathroom, turned the water to full heat and let it hit my back like it could erase her. I stood there longer than usual because I couldn't stop hearing her voice in my head from last night, soft, flirty, excited in a way she hadn't been with me in years. When I finally stepped out, she was sitting on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling through some lifestyle nonsense like nothing had changed. I glanced at the spot where he sat. Same pillow, same throw blanket, same dent in the cushion. I knew she didn't clean anything because she didn't think she had to. She didn't expect me to come back. Or maybe she didn't care if I did. That's when I remembered the doorbell camera, the one she said was tacky, the one I installed anyway. I checked the base station under the stairs and sure enough, it had been unplugged. Not powered down, unplugged completely. Cables dangling like she ripped it out in a rush. But she forgot about the cloud. I opened the app, punched in the date, and watched the footage. 5 visits. Same guy. Same casual body language like he'd been there 100 times. In one clip, she hugged him at the door before he even stepped inside. In another, he handed her a gift bag. I paused on one frame, zoomed in on his wrist. He wore a lanyard with a badge. The logo was small but familiar. Her old job. That's when I remembered his name, Josh. He used to work with her when she still did digital design. She mentioned him once or twice, always casually, always harmless. I didn't think much of it. Why would I? I trusted her. I searched him online. There he was, Josh Winters. Real estate photography. Freelancer. Based 5 minutes from us. Profile full of black and white edits and fake deep captions like "Capture the truth behind the lens." I scrolled down and there it was. A photo of him and Amanda, wine glasses clinking, dim lights in the background, her hand on his shoulder. Caption, "Creative nights hit different." It was posted 6 weeks ago. She was tagged. She liked it. Only 3 other people did. One was a woman I didn't know. The other was Amanda's sister Maya. I stared at that like it had been waiting to punch me. I checked the timestamp. That was the same weekend she told me she needed solo time to recharge. She said she was going to a spa. She was going to him. That night I didn't sleep. I just sat in the kitchen watching the fridge. She always kept a to-do list written in dry erase marker. At the bottom it said, "Ask Jay about studio setup." Ask Jay. Not Josh. Right above that? Husband fix laundry door. Not my name. Not can you fix. Just a job on the list. Another task. Another utility. I took a photo of that list then wiped the whole thing clean. The next day, Amanda left early. Didn't say goodbye. Just slammed the door and drove off like nothing happened. I tracked her phone because I still paid for the plan. She was at Maya's house. The same sister who liked the wine photo. That afternoon, I got a text from Amanda. "Need a few days to breathe. Don't overthink this. Be mature." I didn't reply. She already said everything she needed to without saying a word. Then Derek messaged me. "Need to drop something off. From someone else. You'll want to see it." He showed up with an envelope. Inside were printed screenshots. Dozens. Text messages. Photos. Receipts. Amanda and Josh. Hotels. Chat logs. Screenshots of her saying things I'll never forget. Like, "He doesn't notice anything. Always tired. You get the real me. I'm only married on paper." It wasn't a fling. It was a replacement plan. And I was the outdated version. I drove to Maya's that night. Amanda opened the door like I was interrupting dinner. No guilt. Just this flat, annoyed expression. "Now's not really a good time." I handed her the envelope. Didn't speak. Or blink. Her fingers flipped through the papers and when she reached the last one, she said, "You're going to blow everything up over a mistake?" Then she laughed. I turned around, walked back to my truck, and got in. She followed me down the steps screaming behind me. "You want to be alone? Congratulations. You got it." She yelled until I pulled away. I didn't look back once. 3 days passed without a word from her, no calls, no texts, not even a lazy apology typed out in lowercase. I waited for silence to end, but she didn't break. She just vanished like she owed nothing. Then the envelope hit her harder than I expected. I found out through her sister Maya, not because I reached out but because Maya called me herself and led with, "Why would you destroy her life over one mistake?" I didn't answer right away. She continued without breathing. "Josh's engagement just collapsed. Amanda's name is everywhere now. His fiancée found out. They're both blaming you." I blinked. They're blaming me for what? For not handling it like a man. That was the phrase she chose. Not talk it out. Not stay calm. Just handle it like a man, which in their language always means keep swallowing the disrespect quietly. I hung up. I stared at the floor like it might offer better answers than these people ever had. That night, I went back through the envelope again. Line by line. Screenshot by screenshot. One thread stood out. A text from Amanda to Josh. "He's tired again. Surprise. So I get you tonight? You always do. He's just background now." Background. That word cut deep. Not husband. Not problem. Just background. Like furniture. A noise you get used to. A role, not a person. I remembered sitting in our living room, building shelves for her workspace, moving her vinyl machine, painting the wall she said was too beige. All of it while she texted someone else that I didn't matter. The more I thought about it, the clearer the pattern became. She'd been detaching for a year. It didn't start with Josh. It started with small digs. Quiet criticisms. Telling me I lacked ambition, that I had settled, that I wasn't evolving. She started hosting those so-called brainstorming nights and I believed her because I wanted to. But they weren't meetings. They were rehearsals. She was testing the waters to see how far she could go before I snapped. I never did. That was the problem. The next day I got a message. Not from Amanda. From Josh's ex-fiancée. She found my number through a mutual contact and texted me 2 words. "You free today?" We met in a coffee shop 10 miles out. Neutral place. No familiar faces. She came in looking like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. No makeup. Hoodie. Laptop bag slung across her shoulder. She sat down across from me and said, "I knew for months." She wasn't even angry anymore, just hollow. She told me she didn't say anything sooner because she was afraid I'd forgive Amanda and make her look insane. "You wouldn't believe how often they mocked you." I didn't flinch. I'd already suspected it. But hearing it from someone outside? That hit different. She pulled out her phone and showed me more screenshots. Stuff Amanda didn't know got saved. Stuff Josh forgot to delete. Videos. Recordings. Voice notes. One from Amanda said, "He's still playing husband. Poor guy thinks effort earns affection." I stared at the screen until it blurred. That night, I went home and made a decision. I packed everything that was mine into the truck. Clothes, papers, tools. I left behind the wedding photos, the coffee mugs with our initials, the live laugh love sign she hung without asking. I walked from room to room and took inventory not of items, but of lies. This was never a home. It was a disguise for control. My labor built it. Her ego lived in it. The next morning, she returned. I was already gone. But she didn't know that yet. She walked in expecting chaos. Instead, she found silence. Nothing broken. Nothing trashed. Just one note taped to the fridge. 4 words written in black Sharpie. I was never background. She called me 6 times within the hour. I didn't answer once. By noon, Maya called again. "She's spiraling. She says you ghosted her." I said, "Tell her to ask Josh where I went." Then I blocked her. Later that night, Amanda texted from a different number. "You think you're strong now? You just abandoned your own marriage." I didn't reply. Because at that point, I wasn't just done with Amanda, I was done with defending myself to people who built their comfort on top of my exhaustion. The next morning, my job called. Not my boss, HR. Apparently, someone had filed a workplace complaint. Anonymous. Claimed I was emotionally unstable due to domestic issues and suggested I should not be considered for leadership. I wasn't even aware I was in line for promotion, but apparently I was. And apparently Amanda knew. Because she'd overheard me on a Zoom call weeks ago. I stared at the wall in the HR office while they read the complaint. Then I asked one thing. Did they give a name? They shook their head. Anonymous. But detailed. Very personal. That night I changed every password. I turned off location sharing. I backed up my phone to a private drive and then wiped anything she might have ever touched. Then I deleted our old text thread. Gone. By Friday morning it was war, but not the kind with shouting and slammed doors and threats that never land. It was colder than that, quieter, sharper, the kind of war where someone doesn't want to win, they want to erase you. I sat in my truck outside work reading the HR message again, knowing exactly who filed it but still stunned she had gone that far. The email said someone close to me raised concerns about my emotional reliability, claimed I was displaying aggressive fatigue symptoms, that my unstable home environment might impact my team's morale if I were promoted. The only people who even knew about the promotion were my direct manager and Amanda, because she heard me say it on a Zoom call 2 weeks earlier. That's how far she had taken it. She didn't just betray me, she tried to sabotage my future. And that was after the affair. After the lies. After she said I didn't deserve to be tired. She wanted her exit clean and my life wrecked behind her. I didn't respond to the email right away. I took the work laptop to IT and requested a scan just in case. They found no viruses, but they did find unauthorized access. 3 weeks earlier, someone logged in using my home Wi-Fi during the exact shift I was working nights at the grocery store. Amanda. Only one who knew my credentials because I'd foolishly saved them in Chrome like a complete idiot. She read the entire promotion thread, saw my name on the shortlist, and 5 days later HR received the complaint. I sat at my desk for the next hour staring at the wall thinking about how long she had been planning this. Because this wasn't emotional. This was surgical. She had prepped for this. The unexplained business trips that now made total sense. She knew what she wanted and it didn't include me. But she didn't just walk. She burned the floor behind her. At 6:03 p.m. that same night, I got a call from a blocked number. I let it ring out. Then I listened to the voicemail. It was Amanda. Her voice fake calm. Way too rehearsed. Hey, just wanted to check in. You've been really quiet. I'm not mad about the paperwork, by the way. I get it. I think we both said and did some things that were out of line. But look, if you're going to make this ugly, I'll have no choice but to protect myself. Let's not do that. Call me. Protect herself. Like she was in danger. Like she hadn't just tried to destroy my credibility at work anonymously. Like she hadn't already crossed the line 10 times over. I didn't call back. Saturday morning, I woke up to a brand new problem. My credit card got declined at the gas pump. Confused, I called the bank. They told me there were 6 charges pending from unfamiliar sites. Clothing, subscription boxes, some gift card bulk purchase, all within the last 48 hours, all shipped to our address. I locked the account and reported it as fraud. But I didn't need an investigation. I already knew. Amanda still had my safe card in her Chrome profile. She probably assumed I wouldn't notice. Or maybe she didn't care anymore. Maybe this was just her way of getting a refund on time wasted. That same afternoon, I went back to the house, not to fight, not to argue, but to get what was left of my personal records. Tax returns, birth certificate, old pay stubs, photos of my parents, everything important I'd left behind. When I pulled up, her car was gone. But the door was open. Wide. Not unlocked, open. I walked in slow, not sure what I'd find, and right there on the kitchen table was a small black envelope with my name written on the front in her handwriting. Inside was a flash drive and a sticky note. The note said, "Thought you'd want the proof too." I didn't even open it until I got back to Derek's house that night. But once I did, everything changed. On that flash drive were photos, screenshots, videos, security cam footage from inside the house. Except I never installed cameras inside. Only outside. Which meant she did. They weren't aimed at her stuff. They were aimed at mine. One in the garage. Another in the bedroom directed at my side of the bed. None of it made sense at first until I hit play on one of the video files labeled March 11th. It showed her opening my briefcase, reading documents, taking pictures of my work badge. Another file showed her logging into my desktop, snapping a photo of a contract. She had been collecting information on me like she was building a case. And the timestamp on those files? All before she told me about the affair. She wanted something to hold over me. In case I made this public. In case I turned on her. She was building leverage. And the worst part? The flash drive wasn't a warning. It was a message. It said, "I can play your game too." I sat back in Derek's apartment with the drive in my hand and asked myself one thing. How did I allow someone to convince me I didn't deserve to be tired, while they built an entire escape plan around me? This wasn't about money anymore. And if she thought I was going to roll over quietly, she was about to find out. I was done being background. Sunday morning hit like a hammer and I didn't sleep the night before because I knew something had changed in me and it wasn't fear anymore. It was focus, clean and cold. I printed every screenshot from her hidden flash drive, the photos, the timestamps, the recordings, and I turned it all into a quiet stack of evidence that no one could deny. I walked into HR at 8:58 a.m. Monday morning, looked the director in the eye, and handed it over without saying a single word because the truth didn't need a pitch. it just needed paper. She flipped through 3 pages before she stopped blinking and said exactly what I wanted to hear. "We'll be escalating this immediately." The complaint Amanda filed against me was shredded by noon, and by 5 that same day my promotion was not only restored but fast-tracked with a bonus for resilience under stress. And the only person who didn't know yet was Amanda, because she still believed she was 5 moves ahead, not realizing I had just jumped the entire board. That night I met with a lawyer who specialized in digital surveillance and workplace retaliation. Handed her the same file plus the full contents of the drive Amanda thought would scare me, and within 20 minutes she looked up and said, "This isn't petty. This is criminal. We filed a cease and desist. We documented the workplace sabotage. We prepared civil charges for unauthorized access, identity manipulation, and marital asset fraud. We included screenshots of Amanda using my personal accounts, recordings of her reviewing my financial data without consent, and a draft letter for her online business partners, just in case she tried to run." That night Amanda sent a message from a new number, her 6th one in 2 weeks, pretending to be calm and measured, but I could smell the desperation between every carefully placed word. "I think we both lost our way. I never meant to hurt you. I just didn't feel seen." I didn't respond because it wasn't an apology. It was bait with perfume on it, trying to make me walk back into the fire she lit, hoping I'd forget who struck the match. Instead I boxed up the rest of her things, labeled each with dates, kept photos of the items, and left them untouched for my lawyer to inventory because every mug, every receipt, every charge was part of the trail. 2 days later her sister Maya called and said Amanda was shaken and confused why I was being so extreme. I told her flatly that sabotaging a man's job, tracking his devices, and filming him inside his own home was not a love story gone wrong. It was a calculated takedown. Then Wednesday night, things escalated again. I looked out the window and saw Josh's silver sedan parked across the street from Derek's apartment, engine off, lights down, just sitting there, watching like a man realizing the bomb he helped build just blew up in his own lap. He didn't knock. He didn't call. He just sat there while I made note of the time, the plate, the exact spot. The next morning I received a padded envelope in the mail. No return address. No note. Inside, a second flash drive. This one included new footage, recent, less than a week old, filmed from inside my garage. I had never placed a camera there. That meant they returned, broke into the property, planted a new hidden device and filmed without my knowledge. I watched in silence as Amanda walked into frame with a flashlight, opened my tool drawer, took a picture of my VIN number, and left. This wasn't heartbreak. This wasn't cheating but a hostile operation disguised as a breakup. I gave it to my lawyer. Her response? "We go to court. We go hard." Friday came fast, and with it came the formal legal notice. Cease and desist, official list of charges, and a warning that any further contact or retaliation would result in immediate litigation and civil escalation. We had timestamps. We had logins. We had camera angles and location pings. We even had purchase records of the surveillance equipment she thought was untraceable. We sent copies to her email, her address, her e-commerce business inbox, and one to Maya, just in case Amanda tried to play the victim again. 5 hours later Maya texted me with a line so predictable I almost laughed. She says she's sorry. She says she didn't mean for it to go this far. That's the line. That's always the line. As if 6 months of manipulation, digital theft, and career sabotage were just an accidental emotional sneeze. I told Maya, tell her to say it in court, then I turned off my phone and turned off every trace of her in my life. Because now, I wasn't surviving her anymore. I was finishing what she started, and I wasn't going to stop until the last piece of her plan collapsed under the weight of her own fingerprints. 2 weeks after serving her notice, I got a knock at Derek's door around 7:40 p.m. I expected delivery, maybe a neighbor, maybe even Amanda in disguise, but instead it was a man wearing a navy suit, badge clipped to his belt, polite but firm, eyes like someone who had already seen everything twice. "Mr. Lane? I need to ask you a few questions regarding a financial investigation." I let him in. I didn't panic. I had nothing to hide. What I didn't expect was what he pulled out next, a printed spreadsheet tied to a PayPal business account I'd never seen before, and across the top was Amanda's full name as the recipient, but my personal bank routing number attached underneath. That's when my stomach dropped like it forgot gravity. He explained everything slowly, calmly, like he didn't want to miss a reaction. Turns out Amanda hadn't just been running her shirt business. She'd also opened an anonymous account selling personal data, and not just hers. Mine. My company contacts. My pay stubs. Even photos from my work laptop. Stolen. Sold. Categorized. Marketed. She'd been pulling data and quietly monetizing it, feeding it through fake e-commerce transactions and filtering it under her online shop. Over 18 months of theft. The IPs were traced. The purchases were linked. And somehow, in all her self-assured sabotage, she had gotten too confident and tied one of the payouts to my joint checking account from last year. That's how the investigators found me. Not as a suspect, but as a victim. I asked one thing, am I liable for any of this? He shook his head and said, no. But you're going to need a bigger lawyer. I called mine immediately. She didn't even hesitate. We go full prosecution. Wire fraud. Identity abuse. Federal charges. Amanda had no idea this was coming. She thought she'd hurt me enough. Thought she'd drain me. Thought the affair, the sabotage, the tracking, the fake complaints, the cameras, the theft, that it all broke me down to my last breath. But she didn't know about the audit. Because that same week, she applied for a home loan with Josh. Tried to get financing for a condo 3 towns over. And guess whose information she used? Mine. My credit score. She thought she deleted the trail. She didn't. 3 days later, Amanda was served in public. At a cafe. With Josh present. My lawyer timed it. She told me later, let her wear the embarrassment. She built the costume. Witnesses said Amanda went pale, tried to laugh it off, then read the papers and started crying, blaming Josh, saying he pushed her into everything, while Josh just stared at her like she was a stranger speaking a different language. Turns out, Josh didn't know the half of what she did. He thought she just left a cold marriage. He didn't know she used his name in the data scheme too. Didn't know she applied for loans with both our names. She burned him worse than me. I got a letter the following week. Handwritten. From Amanda. 10 pages. Not a single real apology. Only lines like, I didn't know how else to win. You made me feel invisible. You'll always be the one that broke me.